Yo, what's up, guys? We're going to go through some NFL bets for this weekend. So let me share my screen. We'll kind of look through the main sports books. I try to focus on the main ones in these videos, PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, stuff like that. So our Taco Tuesday play from Tuesday from the live streams looking good. DJ Moore obviously, crushed it. Brian Robinson didn't score a touchdown, so we have some good-looking plays. But without further ado, we can kind of get into it. So maybe we start out. Do we want to start out on PrizePicks? Well, doesn't look like there's a ton of stuff. A little bit of stuff on PrizePicks right now, but not a ton. So maybe we start out on Underdog Fantasy. So we can start out on Underdog, and we can take a look at some of the lines available. A play I just locked in on Fliff, I gave this out on Twitter, is a little two-pick parlay. So again, the math behind parlays is pretty simple. You can play things as straight bets or parlays. It really doesn't matter if you want to play these picks as straight bets or parlays. But you can see I have this little two-pick parlay, including the Packers minus 2.5 at plus 135. I mean, really clear value on Fliff, 2.85% profit margin from the positive EV tool, which again, like data-driven sports betting, this tool is just going to, for whatever sports books you use, and there's really no excuse for not using Fliff. Fliff is legal in basically every state. And you can see, every sports book basically is pricing this at plus 110, plus 118, plus 116. So when you're a sports bettor, you have a bunch of data points, right? When you're making your bets. All these sports books are posting lines. So your job is really hunting through the market. We're hunting through all this crap on Fliff. I mean, there's literally limitless stuff you can bet in every game, all these player props, right? You're really just looking for those few spots, where they're screwing up, where you can actually get an edge. So where do we want to start? So let's refresh this. And, you can see I have the sports books pulled up that I use. So maybe we start on Underdog Fantasy. I mean, we got a good play on Bryce Young. So the Panthers are obviously huge underdogs. I got a pretty big bet on the Panthers. I am on the Panthers point spread. I mean, I can pull this up right here. So if you're looking for a play, I'm on the Panthers plus 10 in a parlay. And New Mexico State already cashed. So now we got 3 legs left. But I included them in a parlay plus 10. But you can see, obviously they're probably going to be down most of the game. They're big underdogs. Bryce Young's passing attempts over is recommended to us. So we can kind of take a look at this right here. Passing attempts, right? Bryce Young. Obviously, he hasn't had a great season. But Panthers haven't had a great season. But this will be the first pick that we go with. And again, underdog strategy is very different. When we're looking for sharp bets, mathematically profitable bets with an edge on traditional sports books like Fliff, it's pretty easy. We're really just looking for, you're looking for good value in the odds in general. So here it's like pretty clear. Fliff is giving you a really good price at plus 135. And you got to remember, like the way that books make money is they charge a spread, right? So for example, BetMGM has their line plus 110 minus 145. So they have a 35-cent spread kind of baked into the market. So what you want to do as a sports bettor is you want to remove the spread, right? Plus 110 minus 145 means the fair price with the VIG removed, according to BetMGM's model, is plus 124, right? So that's how books make money. They charge a spread. BetMGM has a model that says, hey, we think the Panthers plus 10 should be priced at plus 124. And then they juice their line down to, plus 110. So getting plus 135, clear value. And kind of the way you can think about positive EV betting, and I know I love this example, but it's a good example, is, Facebook is trading in the market at 304.79, right? Kind of like the average price of BetMGM, of the Packers minus 2.5 is plus 115. And you're getting it at a really good value to the market, plus 135. So like if you told me, or if I told you, you can buy Facebook at $200, you'd be crazy to say no, right? Because first of all, you could go sell it in the market at 104.79 for a profit, first of all. But second of all, it's like, sure, I mean, the economy may crater into a recession tomorrow, but like the price of Facebook, like there are millions of people who wake up every day, right? And their full-time job is determining if, companies are overvalued or undervalued, if stocks are too high or too low. So this price is where supply and demand, the equilibrium, of all the investors, it's where supply and demand meet. So this is called the fair price. And it's really hard to outsmart, the entire market. Like every hedge fund in the world, every day, they're running all these complex models trying to figure out if Facebook is a buy or a sell at 304.79, the current price. So it's kind of the same thing here, right? Like, the weather, lineups, injuries, it's all already baked into sportsbook odds. That's why when you're making your bets, the most important thing that you can do is find value in the market. Right? The weather, everything is baked into the odds that sportsbooks are putting out. FanDuel's a $10 billion company. They're pretty good at setting lines, and they're pricing this only at plus 116, and you're getting plus 135 on flip. Really good value. Anyways, let's start with Underdog. So let's get into some bets. So we can reload this, and we can take a look at, how are we looking with the bets? I know we hit some underdog bets on the live stream. It looks like we have some decent starts in esports, but we'll have to see how all of these shake out. Justin Fields passing attempts. So we have our first play on Bryce Young, and we can kind of go through, underdog fantasy strategy as well. So there are some bets on PrizePicks. So we'll have to go to PrizePicks as well here in a second. You can see there's some bets on PrizePicks. So we'll go to PrizePicks here in a second. But the first play we have is Bryce Young, right? Over 31.5 passing attempts, right? So you can see all the sports books have the over heavily favored. So on Underdog Fantasy, the strategy is pretty simple. This is a platform where they give you the same payout, right? Based on you selecting over versus under, you're always getting a 6x payout for any 3-pick entry. So really the strategy for beating them, they're going to give you the same payout if you take Bryce Young's over or under, is you want to compare their lines to those on the sports books and find spots where sports books have a line, really heavily favored. So for Bryce Young, all the books have him, Pinnacle, which is known to be one of the sharpest or smartest sports books. They have the over all the way, and they've been ripping odds towards the over. They have his over all the way at minus 165. So his over is a huge favorite. His over is a lot more likely than his under. So obviously you don't want to take his under in your underdog entry because it's a lot more unlikely. You want to take the over, which is a lot more likely according to the data, right? Pinnacle, very sharp sports book. You want to put weight, kind of into their odds. But anyways, so what we can do next is we can go to some esports plays. So again, I've said this before, but I don't personally really care what I'm betting on. Granted, in esports, you don't have as many books posting odds, right? For Bryce Young, like BetMGM, Caesars, DraftKings, these are all like $10 billion companies. No offense, they have a better model than you. They have really good data feeds. They all have the over heavily favored. So we know that on Underdog, the over is the good play, right? We're following the data. And for esports, you just have less data points, but hey, still, you can see for this player, Underdog has his line at 22.5. Like, this is crazy. I mean, we're literally creating our own Taco Tuesday. Like that promo on PrizePicks, if you think about it. If you check out PrizePicks for this player, so if we go back to PrizePicks, who gave me the worst betting limits of all time, only $25 max bet sizes, which is very annoying. But you can see all these other sports books have his line at like 25. I mean, that's crazy, right? Imagine if you saw an NBA player discounted 22.5 versus 25. So, it becomes pretty clear, like, hey, there's this discrepancy in the market. Like, this is what we want to look at. The same way an investor has tons of different investments they could make, and they really want to filter for the best ones. It's the same thing as a sports bettor. All this fantasy optimizer is doing, Underdog Fantasy. We'll go to PrizePicks next, but it's just showing you like, hey, like here's where the value is, kind of in the market. Here are some interesting plays where there's discrepancies between books, and maybe you can get an edge. So what do we want to go to next? So we have Bryce Young passing attempts. Oh, man. So we got another CSGO play. So take a look at this. Like, this is crazy too. Underdog has his line at 33. So again, even if you don't use PrizePicks, I'll hear a lot of people be like, oh, but I don't use PrizePicks. Why would I look at their odds, right? This is a $1 billion company. They're taking bets, moving around lines based on where action's coming in. They have good models. You still want to put weight, into their odds. And again, the sports betting market is super fragmented. Like, if you think about it, it's crazy that all these books have different odds or lines from one another. So you can see, 33 here. If you look at the other sports books, 34.5, 35, and then Hot Streak, which is a sports book, they have the line at 35.5. Not only do they have the line at 35.5, but they have the over favored, right? They have the over juiced to minus 150. So this betting tool that just kind of shows you all the odds is called the sportsbook screen. So I just kind of like showing it in these live streams. I try to keep these educational, like really understanding the why, how to beat these books is really important, if you want to make money long term. So all the data points are telling us, take the over. So keep it fucking simple, right? Like, it's not supposed to be that complicated. If you could buy Facebook at $200, you should do it, right? You could literally sell it in the market at 305. Kind of the same way here, where if we bet on, if we placed a bet on, if we placed a bet on, Mantu over 33, we could hit his under 35.5. If you wanted to hedge, you could hit his over 33 and his under 35 half, right? If he has 34 or 35, you're going to win both bets. But like Hot Streak, they have the line at 2.5 points higher, and they have the over favored. So this makes it really clear that this over 33 is really good on, Underdog Fantasy. And then you can see, like, fuckers. So they already moved this first line on Niffy. So I've explained this before, but we really got to move quick to get down some of these plays, especially on the live stream, because I know a lot of people are betting it before I place my bet. So I try to move quickly. But you can see, CSGO, all these other books have his line at 17, Underdog 15. We could middle this, right? We could hit his over 15, his under 17. If he has 16, we win both bets. If he has 15 or 17, we'll win one and we'll push one. So this is my little 3-pick entry, I try to give people time to bet it. So I think that's what I'm going to lock in if you want to lock it in, although there are some other bets. So we can take a look here at Grim. Maybe we take this too. I'm not done yet. So Grim's line 39 and 36.5. Again, even if you don't use ParlayPlay, that's a data point, kind of for you to consider. 38.5, 37. And also we have a good play from the live stream, or it's starting to look good. This play looks fucking horrible. But again, these are 5-leg parlays. Like, we're not even going to come close to winning every one. It's all about having a positive ROI long term. As you can see, down to Gabe Davis under 44.5, but 4 for 5. That play was from a live stream as well. So let's go. So we have Grim under 39. And anything else we like, or should we just lock it in? Am I getting greedy? Maybe I'm getting greedy. So 24.5, 26.5 across the board. So fuck it. Maybe we go with this. So there we go. A lot of esports tomorrow. So here we go. We got a little 5-pick entry. But again, fuck, I've already hit my limit on Bryce Young, which I didn't realize. So what we can do is we can go back here to Josh Allen over 33.5 passing attempts. This play looks very good, right? Or we could just hit this as a 4-pick entry with insurance. So again, when you're playing on Underdog Fantasy, so decent starts overall, it really matters how many picks you're going with, and I kind of have like spreadsheets. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube kind of breaking down the math behind Underdog Fantasy, but I'll kind of explain to you why you want to go with 3 pick entries or 4 pick entries with insurance. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is what I locked in. Is on Underdog, everything boils down to like, okay, what percentage of, your picks can you win? So let's say you take Trevor Lawrence, right? You want to take his passing attempts line. Essentially, everything on Underdog Fantasy boils down to, what percent of the time can you win these higher or lower, your picks. So you want to win, obviously, the highest percent. Underdog doesn't change your payout, right? Based on the picks you select, any 3-pick entry, you're getting a 6x payout. So it all just boils down to like what percentage of these over-unders can you win? And you want to win the highest possible percent. So if you win 50%, lose 50% of your picks, you suck, right? You have no edge. That's no advantage, no edge. You win 50% of your over-unders, you lose 50%. But on Underdog, you need an advantage. You got to win 55% of your picks to be profitable. But let's say you can win these over-unders correctly 56% of the time. So if you're winning these over-unders correctly 56% of the time, for a 4-pick entry, your ROI winning your picks 56% of the time would be like, 5.5%. Whereas for 2-pick entries, you would still be losing money. Your ROI would be negative 6%. So a swing of like 12%. So 2-pick entries are really bad. Long story short, on Underdog Fantasy, which is just something worth noting. Another thing worth noting is I've taken a look at a lot of these, chili pepper plays. In general, they all suck. So I would not recommend, going with them. If you've been considering them, at least in terms of the math, like usually you can get, better prices on other sports books. So Bijan Robinson, if you wanted to take him, right? If you want to play on Bijan for this weekend, so if we go to the NFL, and there were some good college football plays, but maybe we'll do that later. I just want to place a lot of bets ideally and not spend my whole time talking. But what we can do is we can go back here. Let's go to NFL, right? So these chili pepper ones all suck in general. So you don't want to go with those. I should probably make a video kind of going through the math behind those things. But if you look at like Derrick Henry, for example, so this play is kind of interesting. If we go to rushing touchdowns, it's like, what's the deal with Derrick Henry, right? Is his over or is his under favored? And unfortunately, this play won't show up on the optimizer because there's not a ton of books that post, rushing touchdown lines. But you can see if you were going to take Derrick Henry, you'd want to lean to bet his under. And again, you may think you know everything about football. Look, every sports bettor, 99% of sports bettors lose money. That's why the books are in business, right? They don't charge you a fee for placing a bet. They make money by you losing off of them long term. Is like, again, like Fliff, Bet99, all the sports books in the market have him heavily favored to go under. So you should be taking his under. This is just data-driven, rational sports betting, right? You have these books, really sophisticated data feeds, all telling you he's more likely to go under. So let's go to PrizePicks here in a second. We can see if there's any plays on Fliff as well. And again, like I always encourage you, have as many books as possible. Like, we just got a really good play on Underdog Fantasy. Like this play wasn't available on PrizePicks. So the more books you kind of have access to, obviously the better. And some of these plays I've already bet, which is why I skipped over them. But what we can do is we can kind of be like, okay, are there any other plays? So like Diggs, does Underdog have a line on Diggs? We thought that was really good on PrizePicks. I know we're already on Diggs, no touchdown. So you can see Underdog Fantasy is too smart. They don't have this lineup on Diggs. They don't have a TD lineup. But what we can do is we can kind of take a look. And there's a lot of college football lines. Really, sports betting, the strategy for beating these books, making money isn't that hard. It's just time intensive, right? Like this takes time to kind of look through the market, find plays with an edge, crap like that. It's not something you can do in 45 seconds. So Bijan Robinson, you'd want to lean to take the under. But I think I'll move on from Underdog and we can kind of go to PrizePicks here in a second. And again, we already have Mixon on PrizePicks to kind of finish off our slip. Oh boy. Zach Wilson. So no maybe TD lines. I mean, it's a lot of these chili pepper ones, which again, in general, just they suck. So we don't really want to go with these chili pepper ones. Josh Jacobs. I mean, we can take a look at Jacobs. Maybe this is the last play we'll look at. So if we just go to like Jacobs, right, you can see he's heavily favored to go under. So to not score a touchdown, but that's rushing touchdowns. So there's a difference between betting as under and rushing touchdowns, obviously, versus under and rushing plus receiving. So you can see, like, for rushing touchdowns, Jacobs is favored to not rush for a touchdown. He's a minus 160 favorite. But if you include receiving touchdowns, then he's slightly favored to actually take a touchdown or to score a touchdown. I apologize. But let's go back to PrizePicks. And let's kind of take a look at PrizePicks. So the first play recommended is Tannehill over 29.5, or sorry, under 29.5. And you can kind of see, like, okay, like all the sports books, Underdog Fantasy. So this is why it's useful to have more sports books is, like sometimes there's better bets on PrizePicks, sometimes it's Underdog. But you can see on Underdog, they like Underdog here is in line with all the sports books. It's PrizePicks that's screwing up and has Tannehill's line, too high at 29.5. So we want to take the under. And then what else did we like? So let's go back here. You can see there's some combo props. But kind of interesting is what we can look at is so do I already have this play on Foster? So let's go back here. Hot Streak is another sports book. It may be available in your location, maybe not. You can see we had some good stuff on Terry to not score a touchdown. So we have some good looking plays, but this is another site kind of like PrizePicks. But what we can see is like, okay, do we have this play on Patrick Mahomes to not score a touchdown? So you can see what's kind of annoying about Hot Streak, just as an example. All these books are kind of unique in their own ways. Is Hot Streak, they have their odds in payout format, which is a little confusing. So if you look right here, for example, Patrick Mahomes to not score a touchdown. So this means, rushing touchdowns or receiving. It doesn't include passing touchdowns. 1.26 is the payout. So payout is also called decimal odds. And you can see that means minus 384 American odds, right? Kind of like 2.0 means plus 100. You're betting 100 to win 200 total, 100 in profit. So plus 100 is 2.0. So kind of in the same way, just looking at a little odds converter calculator, you'll see that Mahomes is minus 380 to not score a touchdown. So this looks incredible, right? Fliff has this all the way down at minus 780. So that seems like a great play to go with. So if you use Hot Streak, which is a sports book I've had a lot of success on, you can see, not winning every bet, but, we had some big wins here. But more importantly, we had an absolutely huge win this weekend. My fade parlay wins across the board. There's a lot of value on the unders for player touchdowns, right? So here it's like minus 780 on Fliff. Crazy, right? Minus 780 is, and we can switch to a different state if you want to kind of see like, okay, like what about other sports books? And you can see here, like really only Fliff has a two-way market, but you can also kind of assume like, okay, like if Hard Rock has Mahomes plus 425 to score, you can assume his under, if they were posting a line, would probably be like, somewhere close to Fliff, maybe even more, like minus 800, even though they're not giving you odds on the under. So that play seems pretty good. Josh Downs, I unfortunately already played, so I wouldn't be able to replay that. But we're looking for one more pair, ideally, on Hot Streak. And what we can do is we can go here. I think there was a play on like Joe Burrow. Yeah. Under 1.5 passing touchdowns. So you can see Hot Streak giving you plus 105, which is 2.05 in payout odds, right? Where is it? Well, it looks like they moved the line. Damn. So we'll have to see here in a second. But anyways, let me switch my state back to New York. So again, all these books have different, it's a little weird, right? The US is so regulated. It's like all these books are only legal in certain states, whatever. But let's look for some plays on PrizePicks. So we already bet this on Fliff. And I tried to focus on the main books, people can kind of use in these live streams. So you can see there's some more bets on Fliff. If you wanted to take even more of the Packers, you could get a -3. There's a lot of plays on ParlayPlay. But anyways, maybe we'll go here. Let's go to Mac Jones. So we already have Tannehill, right? We have him under. Mac Jones fucking sucks. And you can see we can take him under 22.5 passing completions. So PrizePick strategy is very simple, or very similar. I apologize. Not trying to say it's so simple. But it's just like underdog strategy, because PrizePicks is another one of these weird fixed payout platforms. They don't change your payout based on you selecting over versus under. You're always getting the same payout. So to be profitable on PrizePicks, you have to win you just want to compare the lines to those on sportsbooks and see where they're screwing up. So for Mac Jones, all the books have him heavily favored to go under. Mac Jones sucks. All the books have him heavily favored to go under. So that's a good pick to go with, right? That's a sharp bet that we can go with on PrizePicks. So what we can look at next is, these plays that we had right here. So if you take a look here, there's not enough data points for this play to pop up on the EV tool, but Bobby Green versus Dawson. So this is a UFC play. And again, sometimes these slips seem so random, but wherever I can find value, I'm going to place a bet. So you can see for Dawson Green, all the books have him heavily favored to go under, right? Under 3.5 total rounds. Again, this is a platform where they're going to give you the same payout if you take his over or his under. So the sharp betting strategy, like what the professional sports bettors do, what the serious sports bettors do who are using PrizePicks, is they just compare the lines following a data-driven approach to those on the sports books. All the books have his under heavily favored. That's the more likely outcome. That's the favored outcome. I mean, this isn't really rocket science. The same way if you go to the NFL, it's okay, the Bills are favored against the Jaguars. So if you had Bills and Jaguars and you could include that in your PrizePicks entry, you'd rather include the Bills, right? They're favored to win. And it's the same thing here. For Mac Jones, his under is heavily favored. For Bobby Green, the under 3.5 rounds is heavily favored. And then we have a sack prop as well. So George Carolla, and this is a sack prop. So we want to go back to the NFL and we want to take a look at this play, right? So this is a play in the Kansas City game. So it's okay. So now we have 4 unders, right? DraftKings has the under heavily favored, -150. DraftKings is a $10 billion company, right? You got to put some weight into their odds. Is we can go back here, and this was a play I really liked. Obviously the Dolphins are hot, or maybe not anymore. They got, killed by the Seahawks, but still, he's heavily favored to go under on all the sports books. So this can be, well, I didn't mean to do that. So what I meant to do is do this, and you'll see, ooh, they took that bet. How much will they let me bet? So $25 max. So you can see PrizePicks just absolutely screwing me right now. But here we have a nice little 5-pick entry, right? 5 picks with an edge, just following the data. Nothing complicated. And then we can go back to the positive EV tool and we can be okay, again, when you have an edge, a lot of people will be oh, you place too many bets. I can't follow along. But really, when you're a sports bettor, right, you want to place more bets. More bets is better. The more bets you place, if you have an edge, it's just like a pro poker player. They're not going to go to the table and place They're not going to go to the table, place one bet, and then call it a day. Like if you have an edge and if you're better than the other people, once you know how to make money, you want to place as many bets as possible and also for as much money as possible. But that's kind of a thing for another day. So again, like the value can be on any sports book, which is why I always recommend having more. But it's also sometimes just, in the most random markets. So ParlayPlay is a sports book that I've been pretty successful on, that I recently signed up for, and they have a lot of good lines. So you can see like Breece Hall. OddsJam is recommending, this fantasy optimizer that we take the over 14.5 longest rush for Breece Hall. So again, it's all just kind of about following the data. So if we take a look here and we pull up Breece Hall, let's take a look at Fliff. And sometimes you can middle bet these. You can bet the over, you can bet the under, whatever. But you can see Fliff has his line, first of all, higher at 15.5, but they also have the over heavily favored. So this is a good play to go with. And again, like this platform works in basically the exact same way as it works in basically the exact same way as PrizePicks and Underdog, but it actually has a little bit better of payouts, which is kind of nice. So it's the same strategy, right? Like you can see on this positive EV tool, we just want to look for spots where books have an over heavily favored. So Gus Edwards, heavily favored to go over 43.5, rushing yards. Kind of the same way Bryce Young was heavily favored to go over, but that play was on Underdog. So again, like DeAndre Swift, James Cook, both are heavily favored to go under in receptions. So I'm just following the market data, right? The data never lies. I'm not saying we're going to win every bet. That's of course not true. But when we're following the data, we know we're going to win kind of long term. Matt Gay, heavily favored to go under. Fliff, all the sports books have him heavily favored to go under 1.5 field goals. So we can look up Matt Gay, we can take his under, and it's like, okay, there we go. We got another pick. And then you can see there's some esports plays. Man, there's actually a lot of plays in general on ParlayPlay, which is a good sports book to have, in my opinion. So we can take this guy over 40.5. Sports books have him at 41.5. And then we can take Woods over 3.5 receptions. So the optimal slip type on this platform is the 6 or 5 pick entries. So you can kind of pick if you take like the 6 picks or the 5 picks. But there we go. We locked in, that little, 5 pick entry. And you can see there's some other plays we could go with if we wanted to. So maybe we lock in another slip as well. I mean, again, they only have a max bet size, unfortunately, of $50 on this, or $60, I apologize, on this platform. So we really need to get down as much volume as possible. So you can see here, like, I'm not really doing anything complicated, as I always say. I'm really just trying to find a bunch of plays with an edge. Like here's a random WNBA play. I thought the season ended. I didn't realize they were still playing. But Patrick Mahomes, what does it want us doing? Taking the under and Bernard the over. So we want his over, and then we want Mahomes' under 4.5 rushing attempts. So over, and then we want to take the under. And what's nice about this platform is every single day, they let you bump a line in your favor. So for example, let's say we want to take, this guy to go, like we like his under 7.5, or sorry, we like his over 7.5. So we want to take his over, is we can actually bump him to 7 and just get an extra little bit of value, which is a nice thing about ParlayPlay. But you can only do this for $20 max every single day. So I'm only going to be able to bet this for $20 because it's a promo play. But that play seems pretty good. Jock market, whatever. Damn. So a lot of plays on Jock market right now. But unfortunately, like Jock market doesn't have a website that I can pull up, kind of like Underdog and PrizePicks do. But also, like, there's a lot of good promos on these sports books. I always say that, but like just like Taco Tuesday on PrizePicks, easy value. One of the plays we currently have open, on PrizePicks is a Taco Tuesday play, Lazardo, he was discounted to 4.5, I think from 6, and he had 5 strikeouts. So the Taco Tuesday play won because of the extra value we got, right? Value wins long term. And you can see they have a bunch of promos for, on FanDuel for all these different college football games, kind of stuff like that. But let's go back here. Let's go to Fliff. We got some good bets down. And you can see there's some good bets on Caesars, FanDuel. I mean, it's kind of the same strategy, and we have a bunch of videos about all these sports books. But I'll call it a day for now. I know it's late, and let's just kind of recap what we went through. Underdog Fantasy, 4-pick insured entry. ParlayPlay, 5-pick promo entry. And then we got our little PrizePicks, 5-pick flex play. So all optimal slip type, right? We understand the strategy behind these books, what percentage of our picks we have to win, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully this was helpful. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in.